Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi, and as always, have the ladies with me. Hello, Mariam Lunge. How you doing today?
Fine, thank you. So the other day I went for book reading, I said, at camp. And so I did a book reading with the much younger kids, and then they asked me to speak with the teenagers there, and they were just asking me questions, being on TV. And one of the kids asked, one of the teenagers asked, with Nigeria, do you think that there's hope? Do you think there'll ever be change?
What? Wow. A child?
Yes, a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
They're listening, they're watching. I just thought about it, like, you know.
Good question.
Yeah, very good question. So I gave you my own, I said that there will be change every time, you know. We hope that with every new administration, with every new government, they'll make the change that they can. And we hope that by the time it gets to them, they would even make better decisions than we have done so far.
That was a very wise...
And the thing is, you know, because I wanted them to know that I cannot expect from one administration, but the thing is, our children are watching.
Yeah.
They are listening, they are watching how we're doing things, and they will do the same, or hopefully they may do better, you know. But so let's just pay attention.
But you see, when you say children are watching, even the conversations we have in our houses,
yes, that's what I mean.
They're watching, yeah. I mean, that's on TV. So you are building their perspective, and you must be careful not to make them box them into your own way of thinking. Give them an open mind, because the kids will just be thinking like their dad or like their mom.
Absolutely.
How are you doing, Damola? Good to see you.
Yes, good to see you too. Good to see everyone. I'm fine. I've had a productive week. Apart from one loan company that wanted to, in fact, they terrorized me during the week. They're calling me, texting me. I should come and pay the loan that my relative took. I don't even know this person. I've never been in touch with this person. And they were harassing me. In fact, the one that upset me the most was when they said, if I don't produce the person, I will be made to face the consequences. I said, hey, wahala, don't wear bone straight. What did I do? You know, he was just really annoying. But then, if I'm complaining, the police have also complained that some of these people who borrow money use their emergency numbers to borrow money from these loan companies. And I just keep wondering if these loan companies do not do their due diligence, and people who take money too.
I wonder how you can get out of that. I mean, how do you...
No, I just block it. It's not me.
Yeah. It has nothing to do.
No, it doesn't.
They keep texting you and calling you with different numbers and all of that.
Yes, how are you doing, Tokwe?
I'm good. Thanking God. I'm fumigating the house today.
Oh, nice.
Not so nice because I need to... Yeah. No, I don't know. Not hotel. I don't know. I just said, Mr. Mark, we're leaving the house today. Say, you're evicted. No, I say, yes, we just need to take a break. I can't stand. I have some annoying, like, you know the way we were saying it yesterday that you will be managing some things until it now gets to the point where you say you cannot manage again. So there are some small roaches downstairs. I was like, no, it's not upstairs. It's not in my room. Until the day I saw in my room, I'm like, no, I'm paying to have it fumigated. I can't stand it. So I'm hoping that this is like a clean sweep or free for the next 3 months. You keep doing it over and over again. It's annoying.
That's what you're meant
looking
to do.
forward to.
All right, so I had to just celebrate Major General, his wife. Today's her birthday. He's a major fan of your view, Mrs. Omotola Oyefulu. Happy birthday to her. God bless you. From her husband, Tunde, Major General Tunde. I sent him a message and I said, Major. He said, I am not Major.
Be very careful. Yeah.
So I apologize to your national TV. It's not Major, it's Major General.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Omotola Oyefulu.
We are family, actually.
Yes.
A couple.
Yes, now.
Family.
Everything we do.
Part of our family. Part of our family. Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with the nation. Ganduje pledges reform, fairness to preposition APC. Pencom's assets hit 16 trillion naira. Delta to buy electric buses. Tinubu sends Abdusalami Sultan to warn Niger junta. NSA probes another vessel held with stolen crude. Labour threatens strike over contempt charge against Ajero. And NNPC, NIPCO to deploy 35 CNG stations. Okay, which story are we starting with in the nation?
Okay, so I'll start with another vessel that was intercepted, and it's suspected to have stolen crude oil on it, and is being investigated. So remember the one that was intercepted July 7, July 11th, it was burnt down. It was set ablaze. But this particular one was intercepted August 2nd. They said Okoko area of Delta State. The private security operatives, that's the Tantita operatives, they were conducting a routine patrol when they spotted the vessel. They said, first of all, this vessel was flying a Togolese flag, but still they were quite suspicious. They got on the vessel. They didn't want those on the vessel were refusing the security operatives to get on, but they insisted, and they were able to tell that it was carrying stolen crude oil. But they also had gotten intelligence, so it made it. But they have handed so they arrested this particular vessel, and they're insisting that it would not go the way of the other one where it was set ablaze. And so they said the NSA and CNS have eventually contacted and authorized Tantita operatives to take the vessel into custody. NNPC officials are believed to be on their way to do for investigations. And ONSA is the body that, ONSA, it's the Office of the National Security Advisor, and they have launched investigation into this particular vessel. I hope it does not go the way of the other one, that we find out who is behind it. And, we use the crude oil for some, we actually use the crude oil and maybe reuse the vessel, I don't know, but just putting fire to it does not make sense.
Okay, so the chairman of the Authority of Head of States and Government of ECOWAS, that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has dispatched 2 delegations to Niger concerning the happenings in Niger. He has sent a mission to warn General Chiani of the consequence of failing to respect the ECOWAS position, and that the president, Bazoum, should be reinstated. He also sent in, and that was by former head of state Abdusalami Abubakar and Sultan Sokoto, the 2 that went straight to Niger to consult with the military junta. The second delegation was led by Ambassador Babagana Kinjiwe with a mission to persuade leaders of Libya and Algeria, Niger's northern neighbors, to lend their support in the pressure of the military usurpers. Although we have that the United States have also supported the ECOWAS position. However, the presidential spokesman, Ajuri Ngaleli, explained that the president acted in line with the resolution reached at the end of last week's extraordinary meeting of ECOWAS. We hope this can be resolved. Many have also feared war going because the military has said that if there's an offensive, they will take it as an offensive to start a war. So we're hoping that negotiation and conversations can be able to, and diplomacy can resolve this matter as soon as possible.
Yeah, I have a story that says Delta gets panel on electric buses for mass transit. So, Delta State's Governor, Sheriff Your Excellency, has said his administration may invest in electric vehicles for mass transportation to mitigate the impact of fuel subsidy removal on the residents. And he said that he's going to set up a panel to look into this to ensure the viability of this project. And I am particularly interested in how this project will go because we know how erratic our power supply can be. I want to see if they want to build power stations or charging stations, across different bus stops, or how they are going to maintain
For me, it's
it?
one of the best decisions because at least you know if you power the vehicle through electricity, you're not paying, you're short-circuiting the idea of refueling through gas. You just know every filling station, every bus stop has charging station, and there's a line, a route they can. So I love the idea. Anyway,
Hopefully
Bless
they
you.
succeed. Yeah.
So, yes, APC crisis, not crisis, APC leadership, party leadership they've been back and forth concerning who is going to emerge the winner. I mean, the leader of the party. It's a 10-year-old party. And
Really?
yes, 10 years. I thought it was just like yesterday, but it's 10 years. And in Abuja, Ganduje was sworn in as the new party chair. Also, they brought in Basiru as the spokesman for the ninth, who was the spokesman for the ninth Senate. He was also brought in as well. And they are promising that they are going to reposition the party as a platform for growth and victory in future polls. So the focus is on
Politics.
winning the elections, not necessarily for pushing an ideology. Or like,
you have to forget that these are politicians. So as we are doing governance, they're also playing politics.
Politicians will do politician work.
That's the work of politicians. So everybody has their own area. Moving on now to the punch. FG Labour talks collapse. NLC begins strike August 14th. Delta government indicts Lagos hospital over doctor's death in elevator. PDP LP mock APC as NEC ratifies Ganduje party chairman. Father of siblings killed by collapsed hotel fence demands justice. New public service rules may force out 512 directors. FG begins no work, no pay for striking doctors. Niger Tinubu woos Libya, Algeria against junta. Okay, which story are we taking?
I have the story of collapsed hotel. Says he's still seeking for justice. And we remember the 45-year-old furniture maker Ahmed Atolagbe, whose two sons were killed on July 22nd, 2023, when the portion of the fence of a hotel collapsed on their house in the Ikorodu area of Lagos State. And he said that his sons died on the spot, and his wife also sustained major injuries. And he's really hoping that the matter is not swept under the carpet. And their lawyer, human rights lawyer, Femi Falana, is saying that the government should investigate the matter properly, and they should conduct an integrity test on the fence of the hotel. That's the remaining fences around the hotel. They should conduct an integrity test such that it does not hurt other people, and they should ensure that this family actually gets justice, you know. So people actually know the impact of negligence, because we also have a story of a mother that lost her grandchild while the boy was sleeping in the house, and a neighbor's tank fell on him. Like he was sleeping, was right inside his house peacefully, and they had been complaining to that neighbor that this thing looks bent, this your scaffold looks bent, you should start fixing it. But then he didn't pay attention to them until it
Maintenance culture.
Collapsed.
You can't fix your own soccer in your house. How do you now? That kind of person now run to government and they still expect it to be the contractor to fix somebody's.
Sad.
Another story in Punch.
Yes. So the federal government says it's going to implement a no work, no pay for the striking doctors. The doctors have embarked on their strike. They said this was after the 2 weeks ultimatum that they had given government. The federal government is saying that as far as they are concerned, this is insensitive. They've had various meetings with them, the Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment, you know, all stakeholders, and it has proved abortive. And so it's saying the federal, so it's been directed that the policy that they have on no work, no pay would be used against the striking resident doctors. The doctors have said they have received the letter and they would, you know, let us know what their position is concerning it. As we know, they have their demands. The reason they are going on the strike is because they do not feel that those demands are being looked at or are being met right now.
That's labor, right?
No, this is the resident doctors.
Resident doctors.
Okay, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with our review. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still reviewing Punch. Any other story?
Yes, I do have a story. We know that the NNPCL and NIPCO, the NIPCO Gas Limited, has decided to begin the auto gas station deployment. The auto gas station, you know, we have a lot of migrating. According to Kiari, he said it's part of NNPCL's commitment to reducing carbon footprint and providing cheaper alternative to fuel for motorists. The company is announcing that in partnership with NIPCO Gas Limited, they will be deploying 56 CNG stations planned by NNPC retail across the country. And it's a landmark collaboration. It's going to be in they will have 35 state-of-the-art CNG stations across all the states, including 3 mother stations. I was hoping that there would be more information as regards the partnership with maybe major marketers so that they could also have, because if we're depending on NIMCO, it will not go round. So I'm hoping we have those partnerships, but they said this is the first phase, and I think it's an exciting thing. So let's also start seeing how we can convert one vehicle to gas and see if it is cheaper to manage that, because the current cost of fueling our cars is really, really high. And I'm sure that Nigerians will welcome any change in the development.
You know, some people, when they hear that you filled your tank these days, they'll say,
you try.
And they say, you've done rituals. Tell us, how did you get the money? Because this is ritualistic. Where did you get the money? This
All right, moving on to Vanguard. Contempt charge will go on indefinite strike August 14th, says NLC. Cool. ECOWAS delegation meets with Nigerian military leader. GSK group to shut down operations in Nigeria. Oh. Subsidy removal. NNPCL, NIPCO plan 35 CNG stations nationwide. Diphtheria outbreak claims 122 lives in Nigeria, says UNICEF. Troops killed 36 terrorists, rescue 140 kidnapped hostages nationwide. APC, how Ganduje emerged 6th national chair, Bashiru secretary. And I don't want to die, colleague narrates last moment of doctor that killed in the elevator accident. Okay, which story are we starting with in Vanguard? I was going to take the major headline with NLC. So NLC is saying that they will embark on a nationwide strike from August 14th if the case of the Ministry of Justice that had gone to court on Wednesday to file a contempt charge against Labour is not dropped. If you recall, the president, when he's returned, had a meeting with Labour and TUC, that's a trade union. They had a meeting where they made several, and he had assured them that the Port Harcourt refinery will commence production by December this year. He also promised that concrete arrangements were reached, that the president personally guaranteed action on the following areas: commitment to immediately restructure the framework for engaging the consequences of the petrol price hike in line with the inputs of the Labour leaders, get the refinery working, and there was one more. And I think also to promise to unveil the workable roadmap to the CNG alternative next week. So those are the promises that the president had made. However, the Federal Ministry of Justice through the NICN had continued to allow itself to, according to NLC, to be used to truncate the dominance of democracy by filing a contempt case against NLC. And they're saying that if that case isn't dropped, they will commence a strike, a nationwide strike, by August 14th.
Many of us feel scammed because I remember the last president saying that Dangote refinery was going to be up and running this year, that there would be, they were doing some turnaround maintenance on our own refineries to get it up and running this year, and that those were the things that they were going to kick-start before changing the price. Suddenly, Dangote refinery is not going to happen this year, not even next year. They've given us another date, and the other present refineries are not working. So you can understand why Labour was protesting, because we are hearing, and it's a different administration from this one, but as of today, we are waiting.
Anyway, diphtheria. UNICEF said that no fewer than 122 persons have lost their lives to this diphtheria outbreak in Nigeria. The Nigeria representative is giving us some numbers. She said as of July this year, 3,850 suspected cases were reported. 1,387 were confirmed as diphtheria. And then she also expressed worry over the outbreak, which she said has affected children in 27 states of the country, and that the fatality rate is at 8.7%. Some of the states that are affected is Kano, Yobe, Katsina, Lagos, FCT, Sokoto, Zamfara states, which account for 98% of the suspected cases. And she says it's heartbreaking to know that only 22% of the confirmed cases received their routine childhood immunization vaccinations. So a lot of those who are affected and who have passed on is because they have never received any form of immunization as children, as babies. Anyway, the UNICEF is working hand in hand with NCDC and also MPHCDA, that's our National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, to sensitize people, provide technical support to plan and for the operations. I guess immunizations will now go forth, and it's just sad.
Yeah.
Immunizations, vaccinations are important.
Yeah.
And I know that for the most part, if you go to hospitals, you get them
It's available.
for free. Yes.
This
So
particular one
we
is
need to
even-
educate parents, understand the importance of getting their children immunized.
Please, I need to take the story about the military.
Oh, okay.
So the military usually gives this report, and in this particular story, they were talking about how in fighting criminals within Nigeria, they've been able to catch 36 terrorists, and they rescued 140 kidnapped hostages. They also mentioned that they recovered 3.1 million naira in cash, and they arrested 163 terrorist collaborators. These are gunmen, gun runners, kidnappers, and perpetrators of oil theft in total. So in Plateau State, in Birkin Ladi local government, they were able to catch a dismissed soldier. His name is Bashar Abbas, who still had on his military uniform and 2 AK-47 rifles with him, one of which was his official rifle. Even though he had been dismissed, they said he's working with a terrorist member that is at large. They couldn't get that one. Then in Niger Delta, they also discovered 36 illegal oil refineries, 61 dugout pits, 87 storage tank, 1 speed boat, 32 cooking ovens. Like, it's as if they keep finding this thing. It does not end. Or are they opening new ones? They also recovered 310 liters of stolen crude oil and PMS, all of that. The military is working, and they are giving us a total breakdown of what they've done so far.
All right, take one more story, Vanguard.
Okay, yes. I would like to take the GlaxoSmithKline story, the GSK story. So Nigerians were yesterday greeted with the news that GSK would be pulling out all its operations from Nigeria.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's because the parent body, GSK UK, informed the Nigerian arm that it's a strategic intent to cease commercialization of its prescription medicines and vaccines in Nigeria through the GSK local operating companies. And the chairman of the Nigerian company, the Nigerian arm of GSK, is saying that the factors that have led to this include foreign exchange unavailability for businesses, insecurity, unemployment, and high cost of doing business, coupled with the uncertainty around fuel subsidy removal. And this goes to, it just focuses on the need to improve the ease of doing business in Nigeria.
Unilever has gone. Unilever to the...
Wow.
Yeah. And then the head of pharmacists in Nigeria, Mr. Oladigbolu, is also saying that this scarcity is going to have a lot of impact on patient care. And, you know, the Nigerian government should start looking for how to improve
It's a
healthcare
huge
business in
issue,
Nigeria.
you know, I mean, because
If you don't have drugs, what are you going to do?
Okay, Nigerian Tribune, waiting game in APC. Oyo workers continue secretariat blockade. Reps to revisit 11.3 trillion naira allegedly spent on turnaround maintenance. Security agents intercept ship with suspected stolen crude in Delta. My administration didn't receive 200 billion naira from UBEC, says ECOWAS. Nominations open for 2023 Obafemi Awolowo Leadership Prize. And many injured, property destroyed as thugs attack APC members in Ekiti. Okay, final
Let
paper.
me take Rep saying they're revising the 11.3 trillion allegedly spent on the 3 moribund refineries. I don't know if you read it because you... So it's about the refineries that the amount of money has been spent so far since 2010 till 2022 is 11.3 trillion naira. And we don't know why we don't have 3 working refineries. So we have the chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts, Honorable Bamidele Salam. He was the one talking, with the media. He says that he's bothered by the state of the refineries in spite of the huge sum of money that's been spent in putting them in shape in the last decade. He's also saying that the era of wasting public funds on white elephant projects without consequences will soon be over. The Public Accounts Committee chairman said it will examine accounts of the federal government and those of the ministries, MDAs, in order to expose wastage, inefficiency, and corruption in the public sector. He also lamented that many roads, bridges, and other public infrastructure for which humongous sums of monies were budgeted and spent on previous years have become dilapidated, while many others were simply abandoned by contractors after receiving full payments. So he's also appealing to the president. He's saying that he urgently has to appoint a substantive Auditor General of the Federation. We haven't had anyone fill that office for over a year. And he says that that has negative impact on the Nigerian public finance and accountability rating by global organizations. So.
Okay.
Oyo State, I have to continue to speak. I'll speak both sides, not one side. I'm not biased, but the Oyo State workers continue their lockdown of the secretariats. It was even more strict on Thursday. There was no activity allowed within the secretariat, totally paralyzing the activities of Oyo State, and they are demanding that the governor speaks to them directly because there are deductions that have been made to their salary that is affecting their life, and they are asking that he steps out to speak to them. The Commissioner for Information has come out again, Dr. Oyelade, mentioning that, see, the governor spends, politicians only get less than 100 million of allocation that comes to the state, while civil service gets 7.3 billion within the same period. And he's explaining that everybody knows the challenges that the country is going through. He mentioned that they've only had deductions for 2 months in their salary, that this reaction is very extreme, considering that they've only had deductions from the past 2 months, that many other states that even have more funds than Oyo have not been able to do as much as what Oyo has done. But the NLC don't agree, because they said their expenses has gone up and their income went down. So the protest, I think the governor needs to just quickly talk to them. We're hoping that it doesn't generate into a violent situation, but it might just help if the governor just tells them that, like, we understand.
But they locked him up.
They want him to come outside.
Okay, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we return, look at other hot topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we've asked Nigerians to send in their stories, and we're going to be reading one of the stories that we got from our email and see what we can do to help this particular person. It says, since I got married to my wife, she has never done anything without asking her elder brother's opinion. She once told me her brother is her spiritual head and pastor. The brother opened a prayer ministry, asked my wife to join him to build the ministry against my will. And this is the beginning of the problem with her. We have our own church that we attend. She threatened me many times that if I don't permit her to join her brother in his ministry, that she will make life unbearable for me. The brother on his own side asked her to tell me I'm fighting God by not allowing my wife to join him. Right now, things have fallen apart. We're still together. I'm treating a case of stroke that happened to me last year. We saw this opportunity as an opportunity to revenge. The brother said that God told him that I'm the wizard, and she supported the brother. They went as far as cornering my children to tell them that their father is a wizard. Meanwhile, I'm recovering from stroke. According to her, her anger is that I reported the case to my church elders, and for the brother that I was not supposed to talk about the man of God to anybody. So this matter has a bit of family discord and spirituality. You know, it's always about where to draw the line. And the reason why we're only going to use this as a point of reference, because we realize many homes have this kind of conflict of spirituality. The one is about, you know, either whose loyalty who are you loyal to, your husband or your brother? Someone will say your spouse or your blood. You know how they want to emphasize that this is your blood and this one is just your husband or your wife, you know? So that's there. And then there's a spiritual angle that God has said that I should join his ministry, or God has said that you should, you know, that spiritual part where when you bring in, God said, everybody, it has a whole new
brain
meaning.
will just shut down.
It has a whole new meaning when you say, God has said that, you know, I should walk with my brother, you know, and this is God's calling, and then you bring the elders of the church, you know. So we'll come to that. So these are two different cases. Who are you loyal to, your blood or your spouse? That's the first conversation, because we get this where siblings are so close and they feel that, listen, no matter what, any day you can walk away. But this, my blood, is my blood. If this person, I'm closer to this person, I am more loyal, committed to this person. And that's something, that's a reality many have to face. Others believe, I've left you, I've cleaved to this person, I don't longer, you know, what are your thoughts? Let me come to you, ladies. Talk away.
So, because I don't have a sibling, it would be weird for me to say sibling is not important. But ideally, I would say that your spouse is more, you have become one with your spouse if we're following the biblical principle. And I find myself having to define that to my mom as an only child. Let me put that into it, because just after I had my twins, she came in and expected some things from my husband. And when my husband didn't do what she was expecting, she came to me thinking, what kind of disrespect? And she was really angry, thinking I would side her. And I told her, it's my husband, though. You can see the children. I am now here with 2 boys. This is my primary constituency.
Look at that.
My husband's place. She felt very bad, started praying that God, my only child. I said, Mommy, calm down. I did not say that I've abandoned you. I just said that this particular issue, you are trying to make me pick a side between you and my husband. I will pick my husband. I will pick my husband, because you need to define things at an appropriate time. In an ideal marriage, of course, there are marriages where your lifeline and your lifeblood is your spouse and family. But in the ideal way it should be, is that you have cleaved to your partner, and that is where it should be.
Okay.
You see this thing called God said. This thing called God said has destroyed many lives.
Come to that one. Let's not enter that sector of it. Let's stay with this loyalty issue, because a lot of people, I like to come to you, I'm not sure who wants to go first. There's a lot of issue around the fact that there are people who have said that, thank God I remained loyal to my sibling, to my family. I didn't abandon them, because when this man showed me, they were the ones I ran to. When this woman left me, abandoned me, it was my sister that stood by me. So sometimes they say, that's when they will not remember that blood is thicker than water. So as much as you'd want to say, I stand with my spouse, some women feel like, you know what, no matter what, I can come and beg you later, right? I'll come and beg my spouse, my wife later. But this moment, though, I stand with my brother, I stand with my sister, because that is important to me. I can now come home later and come and beg you. Damola, what do you think? Loyalty?
My worry, though, is why the man is asking his wife not to follow her calling. If she has a calling on, I'm not married, so for now, I would always choose my sibling over anybody, because I've been doing life with them since I was born, and nobody can just come with 2 left legs and just say, hey, I'm the man now, I'm taking you away. But then we have to also understand why the man is asking her not to join her brother in this ministry, because she might have a calling on her life. So, or do you want to establish a church yourself? You know,
because let me start. This calling. Go ahead.
Because the story is not clear. He did not give. He said against my will. Why? You didn't give reasons why she should not do this. And another thing I would like to point out is if, I'm coming to the wife now, if your brother has always been your spiritual head and your pastor, and now he's saying that your husband is a wizard, did you not see it before you got married, or you did not seek spiritual counsel before you got married to this man? So I think it's a conflict that needs to be resolved on both sides. And
This can come anytime. Maybe it was happened after the...
Oh, he went to take the wizardry after...
Well, let me come to... Let's talk about this issue of loyalty before we go into the ministry part.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on this? How do you choose?
Well, because we're talking about a Christian family, obviously God is, especially the Christian God, is very important in this home. From what I know is that according to Christianity, the husband is the head. And so he is the one that would, you know, after God is your husband, then you next. So I would expect that in a house like that, you would not be defying the head. So this, because I'm talking to people who have said, who are in church, who are workers in church, so they understand the word. They are supposed to be led by the principles of, you know, the Christianity in their homes. If they were not Christians, my view would be a bit different. Because I also agree that if she has a calling, if she even has an interest to work with her brother, I don't know why it's such a big deal for the husband. I don't know why it's a negative for him. So, in my own opinion, is there a sort of relationship he has with the brother that he's not comfortable about, and he's using this calling as a way to make a point, you know? Because if his brother-in-law if they are good and they have conversations, I would expect he calls his brother, the brother-in-law aside and say, you know what, I would like her to stay in the family church. We go here. I prefer a united front in our home, you know, when we go to church. And then the brother can say, it's not a problem, but she feels that there's a calling, there's a spiritual higher than us right now.
Absolutely.
And so she will go that's why she wants to go with me. So there's obviously a lack of breakdown of communication somewhere. They are not, the brother and the husband don't seem to be on the same wavelength. And they put the wife in the middle. And all I see that is wrong that the wife has done so far from what the letter is sent us is the fact that she's chosen to worship God in a place that her brother is.
Okay. No, and please, Mariah. You know, I don't think that's anything she's done.
Yeah.
The man said something. The man said, since I got married to my wife, she has never done anything without asking her elder brother's opinion. That cannot work. You are not in a marriage if every decision in your marriage is in consultation and confirmation of another person outside that marriage.
But
we say it.
For someone like, wait, let's come to Damola for a second, because Damola is saying that I'm single. She's been used to having her brother. Her brother has been a spiritual head, for example.
Yes.
So now she marries somebody. The guy is coming after fact.
But
so
already decided
he's
to
coming.
marry.
He's coming.
No, but okay, it's because you
he's
don't
a
have
spiritual head.
I'm married.
Yes.
I have a sibling who are very close. I run nearly everything by her. My mom as well. I do, but it has not made my husband feel insecure. There are conversations I have with him, and he understands. There are conversations I have with my mother. There are some things I will discuss with him. I'll run by my mother, I'll run by my sister, and I'll tell him, this is what my mom said, this is what my... But there's no aggro. Yes, but there's no aggro.
What
yes.
if you're not the one making
No, you don't. In this case, he says she goes to her brother to ask for everything. For everything. When we're growing up, there are lots of things that happen in the family, and my sister and I were there for each other. We understand some things. My husband, there's some things he will not understand because the history of childhood.
But could it be because he's your sister, not your brother? If it was a brother, maybe he'll feel that, okay, there's a connection.
The man.
Yeah, so the man might feel, okay, there's another man in your life.
Because
so the sister thing...
You have thrown it to me that I don't have siblings.
Okay, but another man in your life who he sees as a spiritual head, who you rather defer to, for him might be threatening, don't you think, Damola?
But the angle I would also want to take it from is, I want to paint a scenario now. It's possible that some decisions that the man has made on behalf of the woman has led her into troubles.
That's her husband.
Her husband. So she believes that he's not as wise as her brother. So, yeah, so maybe he needs to build that capacity, that leadership capacity that his wife sees in the brother, to say, okay, I'm here for you, because it's not okay to just say that you are the man of the house, I'm your leader. You have to actually show leadership skills. You have to be empathetic.
That is
you have to be
very important point,
Exactly.
Damola, because there are many husbands that are not as wise as your brother.
But you are married a fool, and you manage the person you are married.
That is why you have to be careful when you're getting married. You have to
But
choose.
let's
Don't
say
just-
let's even say you marry
husband.
someone and you find out that he's not as wise as your brother in some things. There's some people that it's your brother that is financially more savvy and your husband is spiritually savvy. We have different...
Balance.
Yes. My problem is the man seems to be insecure about the brother, and I can't see why, because we have different points of meeting each other, you know, different people in our lives.
But Mariam, would you be comfortable if a woman is, if your husband's sister
or even brother
sister is influencing everything you do at home? You say, I
Does it
want
come
my
across
kids to
as
go to
different?
this school.
Yes.
I want my kids to go to this school. Then your husband comes and says, but my sister said that that school is not so good. This one is better, and I'm going with this one. She gave this and this. You let that one go. The next time I want us to travel, my sister said that that country is not kineko. He goes with it. When it happens back to back, you just realize that, what am I doing here? Especially for a man. I feel like it's useless in the marriage if every decision is being cross-checked by somebody outside.
Let me take this call and then I'll go on a break. Good morning, are you there? Morning, Dari, you're live from Kaduna.
Yes, I am seriously against strong influence of in-laws in marriages.
Sorry?
Both
Influence of
sides
in-laws in marriage.
are old enough. I'm not talking about age now. They are matured enough when they say they want to get married. Allow them to make their mistakes. Guide them as parents. Don't place much influence on them. It is uncalled for. Guide them, because if you are placing much influence on them, it's like you are still holding on to them. Please allow them make their mistakes. Be there to guide. Even in the aspect of spirituality, let them make their mistakes. Just correct. Don't influence their decisions. They have their life to live. You have lived your own with your husband. Allow them to chart a new course for their own life and move on with it. Every marriage has its own challenges. Let them discuss.
Thank you, Darius. We're going to go on a break. Okay. But we're going to come back with the spiritual angle.
Can I have it?
Because we'd like to see, in a situation whereby you are with your spouse, but God is ministering to your spirit, that you must join your brother in the ministry for the people of God. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Before we go into the spiritual angle, let's talk about Mariam wanted to say something. Go ahead, please.
So the story I read, from what he said, since I got married to my wife, she has never done anything without asking her elder brother's opinion. And that's what I'm basing my own, position on. He didn't say she takes only the decision that her brother insists she takes. He said without getting his own opinion. And I know that I do that with my own siblings too sometimes. I may not do it for everything, but it's okay to, run things by people that you've always trusted, you've rubbed minds with. So when you say, how would you feel if someone takes a decision of someone else? That's a different matter. This is not about opinion. This is about decisions. But if he had said everything her brother insists that she does, that's what she's doing in the house. When I asked her to do this, she has insisted she will not do it. Only the things that her brother has asked. But the only thing he is unhappy about, based on this letter, is the fact that she wants to be part of her brother's spiritual whatever. So that's the only thing. He's not saying every other thing concerning our marriage, every other thing concerning this particular thing is my issue. The fact that she is insisting on being part of his church.
Okay,
that's what I hear.
For a minute. This spiritual part. So you are with the spouse who says, don't go to that church. We've had many of these conversations where the spouse says, now we are going to white garment. You met me in white garment and you're okay with white garment, but you are Catholic. and you've agreed to come to White Garment, for example, but you just feel like, they're calling me. My father, my brother is the priest, and that is where my heart is. Yes, when you know how we always say that when you first of all get married, you accept everything, you know, whatever my husband says, just to enter the marriage. When you now finally enter the marriage,
Like,
you now
like
blossom, you now mature, you now realize, you know what, I can actually choose to go back to Catholicism. I can go back, I can, become an adult. So, where in this situation whereby this woman is saying, this is my spiritual head. But can your brother be your spiritual head? That's in that conversation. This is my spiritual head, my counselor, my guide. I want to defer to him for all my spiritual growth. As much as I love you, you're my husband, I would rather stay with my brother. Why do you think he has a problem with that? Why should he have a problem with that?
Well, unless we really hear from this man to tell us the reasons why he's going against his wife's calling into the ministry, we cannot really tell.
Well, let's talk about that calling.
Yeah.
How do we know this calling? This calling, how do we understand calling?
Well, I feel you just start having that strong feeling to serve God more, do more for God. Exactly. And then the spiritual fathers will be able to identify if the calling is true or if it is for the tithes and offering.
I think all of us at one point
but
of
there's
our
one
lives
thing.
have had strong convictions about something.
Yeah.
No one else around us saw it, but we just felt it so strongly. Many people did not believe in it until maybe a few years after we've done it. They were like, oh, it was good that you stood your ground because I didn't see it at first. So maybe that's a calling as well.
It's also important to highlight the fact that most women, married women especially, in fact, a lot of men have been complaining that married women actually revere their spiritual pastors over their husbands because they think, oh, this is my mouthpiece to God. This is my God. You see the women, when they see their pastor, Daddy, welcome, sir. You know, they are fearful, they are respectful, but then when they see their husband, they do not accord the same respect. Maybe it's because, they see the man in his singlet and his boxers. They say, Yarisi Onjemida. They don't see their pastor. One of our co-anchors actually made this point, Toby, because they don't see their pastors in that light, in that sea finish with boxers and singlets. So they kind of respect the pastors more than the husbands.
So I want us to go back to the issue of this spiritual calling. When the spiritual calling conflicts with your marital objectives or obligations. So what you believe God is calling you to do is not in line with your spouse somewhat. So for example, in this man's case, he is saying that she wants to go to her husband, her brother's church. In her own mind, God has called her. That's where her ministry is. Spouse is saying, no, we should be a unit. You should be going to our own church. You should be with us here. Why is that a problem? And how should a woman, because she wants to stay united with her husband, defy her spiritual calling or say, God, I cannot answer this thing, this prayer, this calling you're giving me, because you also told us in the same Bible that my husband should cleave unto me. And we've cleaved here and we are here. But this way, I'm waking, I'm seeing in my dream that I'm going to campaign with my brother. I'm going to crusade with my brother. I'm seeing it in my dream. I'm seeing it every day. People are telling me it cannot be accurate. But how do we fix that?
I've been waiting to talk since, so let me just... there's a part of this thing that God is not the author of confusion. Plenty people have said it over and over again, that God is not the author of confusion. If he wants you to do something, he will not pitch you against your partner, your partner that is yours. You're meant to be your head here. But there is something called spiritual manipulation, and it is prevalent in Nigeria. Spiritual manipulation is where people take advantage of the vulnerabilities of our system, that nothing is working, to dominate people into believing that I am the solution, I am the mouthpiece of God. From where? I'm your access to God. Through where? Like, is it in the Bible? Because you are the leader and God speaks through you does not mean that God does not speak to me. Absolutely. Even, I will not take any pastor's word. The Bible has told us to ask and question the pastor's word if it aligns with God's word. So my pastor can say something and I will pray and I feel it in my spirit that this pastor, what he said is not right. And I'm able to align myself with the superior being. Spiritual manipulation is real. God said has destroyed many lives, many marriages. Your wife is a witch. God said, God showed me. It's a lie. It is called spiritual manipulation, and it has gotten us into major trouble where people they've forgotten their brain and have taken away their ability to think independently. Every decision is made by pastor. They see one plate of food, they will run and go and call the pastor to pray over the plate of food before they will eat it. They want to enter a new office. Pastor, come and anoint the office for me. I want everything I want to do. I bought a new car. Like, we are making every decision from the spiritual angle. It is spiritual manipulation. And there is someone that said something that I will forever quote. Benga Denuga came on this show. He said his pastor told him that I'm not going to pray on this matter for you. Because if I pray on it, you will think that it is my prayer that is giving you blessing, not your excellence.
Hey!
I will never forget it. Many pastors take glory. They want to take that glory that is my prayer. Why would you pray for somebody and person can say, yeah, yes, come back. The next time you want to go for that contract, come and meet me. Because what?
Let me put you on a break. I have a caller. Good morning, Mark. Thanks for calling. On play two.
Good morning, ladies of the house.
Good morning.
Ladies of the house. That's cool.
My name is Mark. I'm calling from Jos.
Yes, go ahead.
Welcome to the show.
Mark.
I'm the first time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I just want to very quickly two things about the topic of discussion this morning. I am married. I have a wife and I have a child. I don't really think I will take it. I will take it easy if my wife go about reporting everything that I do or passing them through, even if there will be an influence or not for my brother-in-law. I don't think it is wise. We are grown-up adults. We have responsibility for our decisions that we take. It might not backfire now. In later life, that same brother-in-law might use some of the information going through him to go against me as the husband or undermine my authority as the husband in the house. So everything we do in our family should be between the two of us. It should not go to the third party, no matter what. And also, the second thing is this issue of God's faith. Unfortunately, when I married you, I even go ahead and first ask you, because you must be comfortable with coming to me to my place of worship. Not that when we get married, you now say you have your church where you want to go. Truly, a family love unity. We love to even show that we are united and we love each other. I cannot be going to my church and my wife will be going to another church. How does it look to the general public outside? That only shows more division between us.
Thank you very much, Mark. Let me come to you, because he was talking about, do you think that it's right for somebody to be sharing family issues with a spouse, with a brother, with a sibling? Do you think that by sharing those information, it can come back to bite him and undermine his authority as a husband in future? And you're also saying the fact that I'll come to the spiritual part of it also, because I feel that a lot of women, especially, and I agree with the spiritual manipulation talk I said earlier, a lot of women, a lot of us depend so much on this spiritual covering we have. And we feel everything must go after it. Yeah. So everything comes after pastor's approval. Everything comes after not the Bible. Pastor must first of all give us authority. Have you told pastor? And there's nothing wrong with that, because the truth is that they always tell us, if you want to get married, first you like somebody, take him to pastor. So we've already been conditioned that no matter what we do, it's whatever our spiritual head says, how he does it, how he advises us, that we go. So are we now going halfway now? We're not reneging on that approach? Are we saying that that's not the right approach to go to your pastors for guidance anymore?
So that's the thing about when we discuss spirituality, especially Christianity,
yes,
since that's what I believe, where one day we pick a side and the next day, if it doesn't really gel, we pick another side. Because what I learned from Christianity is, God above everything else. And we've also seen cases, even in Bible stories, where God will call you and it may not be apparent to those around you. And that your insistence on following God just shows that, you understand the power, which it's not that in following God, it will not always be comfortable. It will not always be easy. It will not even be a situation where people would love you. In fact, sometimes you alienate yourself or create enemies because you have decided to follow God. And so this conversation, what I am reading here, it's about that. Someone who has been called by God, and I will just believe what I've read. I don't know these people personally. So this person has been called by God and has decided, I'm going to go with the calling that God has given me. And then eventually you will or you may not finally, adjust. Then about opinions with people or your in-laws or your brothers or sisters and how it may backfire on you. The truth is that sometimes you just may never know. The truth is that sometimes you just pray that the people that you're having conversations with are decent people. People have had conversation with husbands and it has backfired on their family members. Why did you discuss my family with my husband? After all, are we not meant to discuss everything with the husband? So it's not about the gaining opinions from people. It's about the maturity. The person. Who are you? The person I'm coming to, what sort of person are you? Are you a decent person? Do you respect yourself and respect people? Do you understand boundaries? If that person is that you would never have a situation where someone is trying to undermine you. If you're undermined, then the person may have made a mistake with the person that she or he has shared their opinions with. And remember, we're saying seeking opinions. I hope I get that right. At least in English language, seeking opinion is not saying, I'm taking that decision that you have shared. Just like on this show, we are sharing different opinions. It's not saying, now that we have listened to Tokwe, Dami, and Miriam, we must take exactly as they are saying. It's opinions we're talking about here.
You want to tell me? Okay, I have a call. Eunice, I'll come to you, Damola. Eunice, thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. My name is Peter. I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. You see, I get serious sometimes when people blaspheme against God. I'm not a pastor, I'm a Christian, and when people use the word God calls, God spoke to me. You see, God has actually given us versatility as Christians. He said clearly in his book, in Matthew 7:7, he said to us as individuals, as Christians, as Muslims, when you call, when you ask, you shall receive. When you seek, you find. When you knock, the door shall be opened unto you. So there is that tendency that individually one speaks to God and God answered. And when this woman here says that God spoke to the brother, or he has seen the brother is a spiritual head, if God has actually spoken to the brother and wants the brother to be a spiritual head, there is that tendency that the same God who instituted marriage will have a way of speaking to your husband. And then this whole thing will be mostly in collaboration between you and your husband. But coming with this blaspheming word, I'm sorry to use that, I stand to be corrected, that God has spoken to your brother and you have to align with your brother's church. To me, I don't think I would really say that is right.
Thank you very much, Eunice. Let me take your final comments because we have to wrap up on this, but let me go ahead.
Okay, so I would like to state that another reason why most women revere their pastors more than they do their husbands is because most men have refused or they have neglected their role as being the spiritual leader of the home. You find many men saying, no, I want to marry a prayerful wife so that when I'm on the field looking for bread, she's at home securing everybody with prayers. But no, you're first of all the spiritual head. So when you establish, if you can establish yourself as the spiritual leader of the home, then the woman would not find any need to seek for spiritual guidance from another man. Then they see that leadership role, that you have the capacity to lead them, you are discerning, and you will not lead them astray. So I think the man needs to build capacity.
Absolutely. I think you're absolutely correct. And I think we can wrap up on that. But so if this man in question is indeed the spiritual head and leader of his house, trust me, the woman will not be looking for one brother. She's
not under manipulation.
She will not be manipulated by anybody.
Nobody. Because her stronghold is here.
Stronghold is in the house. I think you just really knocked out the conversation for it. But thank you so much, ladies. I have to go on a break. But I think what Tokwe said earlier, God is not the author of confusion. That's the truth. The truth is that if you feel that God has spoken to somebody outside, your brother, somebody, that same God that spoke to your brother can also speak to your husband, can also speak to you. So just your prayer, therefore, is God, As you ask told my brother that I should be in his ministry, show my husband too. So let him be understanding. So that's how we do it, so there's no confusion. But again, if the men in these pictures are taking up this responsibility, if you're mad, I mean, think about it. What you said is really powerful. If our husbands are our spiritual head, trust me, all these, mommy, daddy in the church, you will not be doing this because you have one of God priest in the house who is taking full charge. So I think it's a feedback to our Christian men all there to also become and own their space as the priests and leaders of their homes. Let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to our celebrity gist and gossip. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. All right, so we're moving on now to things happening in the celebrity world, and one of which is the recent arrest of, let me get the name of this person, a TikToker who recently bagged 3 years imprisonment for cyberbullying an actress, Eniola Badmus. The Federal High Court on Wednesday sentenced a lady identified as Okoye Blessing Nwakego 3 years imprisonment for cyberbullying the actor. Justice Nicholas Owebo convicted Blessing after she pleaded guilty to the 2-count charge of cyber stalking. The judge, however, considered the convict's remorse and gave her an option of paying a fine of $150,000, which she opted for. According to the charge, Blessing. So that's pretty much it. And the reason why this was important is because cyber stalking, cyberbullying is something we've talked about several times on this show. And whenever somebody gets convicted, it's important for us to remind Nigerians of the importance to ensure that they're not one of those stalkers, those cyber bullies online. It's an opportunity to discuss it again and hear your thoughts on it. You can call us on the numbers on your screen, 081-076-41679, 090-241-63440. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read your tweet. Hate speech, what's the other one now? All sorts of
reposting
online
a false story. So
fake
what did
stories.
this girl?
Yeah.
She said that a friend told her about Eniola Badmus. And when she heard it, she now did a content about it on TikTok. You didn't verify the story. You don't have any proof of what you have just said. Then you posted it, and sadly, that particular post went viral. So Eniola tried to take it up and say that you cannot just defame me like this. You can't put this narrative outside. If I leave it, it will come across like it is true. And she was able to get justice in court. And I'm totally happy about how she went about it, because what we have seen is either they would take a police officer to the girl's house, or what we see is people would harass the person and say, kneel down and do a video confessing that what you did was a lie. We've seen that play out as well. But I like the idea of the celebrity took this to court and got a legal judgment on the matter that sets a precedent for others going forward, that don't try this. At least now, people won't just go on X to tweet. Yeah. They will not go on Thread and be...
Yeah.
I mean, all this social media is confusing.
So for me, I think that's the moral of the story, is that you can get punished for defaming someone or going online and posting a false story, perpetuating a false narrative, without any concrete evidence. And for me, that's the conversation we need to have more of. A lot of people believe that they can get on social media and say anything about anybody just for cruise. Sometimes some of them know that it's a lie, but they like the followership. They love the excited back and forth. That's what they are doing it for. And while they get their high, the person's reputation that they have, it means nothing to them. And that person has to now go through the process of trying to defend themselves against a milling crowd of trolls and haters. And, you know, many times we've talked about regulating social media. And a lot of people thought, oh, it's about gagging. It is not about gagging. It's about making sure that when people put a story out about you, that they are sure of what they're saying, they can stand in the court of law and defend it. And if they know that they cannot, then they best be careful not to put out anything that they cannot defend. And also, I feel that it's giving a lot of people hope, knowing that I can get justice when someone does this to me.
But this is rather
because
fast.
Sometimes you feel like they've said, oh, this is what am I supposed to say? You hole up in your house and you're forever ashamed to bring your face out. But now you know that there's a process to go to get justice.
Some criticize that, you know, there are so many other cases about rape that's taken forever. For some reason, this came out so quickly. I mean, this happened, I think it was this year. And she got justice. Like, is it that our justice system is finally changing, or she just used connections? I mean, people are just worried. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's because of the severity of the matter. It's not a matter that they can be, you know, dragging back and forth. And she had already accepted that she was guilty. The facts were there. So it was just easy for them to just sentence. There was no need for incessant investigation. But I would also like to highlight the importance of moral decadence in our society, because this lady in question said she did it, she accepted to create this content because she needed to pay her house rent. You know, the guy that actually reached out to her to give her this scoop for the content creation said, okay, if you would do this against this guy, then I would give you money to pay your house rent. And this goes to show what people would do, the extent they would go to slander or even, you know, do rituals, you know, kill, rob, just because they want to be comfortable. Yeah. We really, really need to rejig our moral system and make people understand that your values first before your pain or whatever you're going through, because that is what will stand the test of time.
Thank you so much. Let me take this call. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, good morning. Elder Daria Debando from Kaduna again.
Morning.
It's rather unfortunate that our moral compass in this society has gone missing. What do you gain by bringing down your brother or your sister? Does that add anything to you personally? Why don't you verify your information before you make it public? Where has the spirit of being a peacekeeper gone to in this country? It is rather unfortunate. Thank God that the law, the long arm of the law, has caught up with this person. I hope people that have the same intention will really put themselves in check. Please, let's be our brother's keeper. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Dari. So, I mean, we've seen bloggers who have gotten away with this so many times. I mean, this, for me, this little girl, this young ladies look like the easiest one, the easiest target. Yes, I'm not saying that what she did was right, but it was a bit easy to catch this one. But there's some main bloggers that cook up stories, come up with stories that cannot be verified, and they've defamed people. And we're not seeing lawsuits. We're not seeing them being justice being served. Many people people have feel defamed already online. So maybe sometimes people will just feel like, let this be equal, let this be even up. Let's ensure that everybody also is brought to book.
What you're seeing is a lot of people will think that, okay, I will just let it die down. And that's why they're able to get away with it. Many people don't want to really get into the case of going to court and coming back and trying to prove the case. They look at it and say, you know, the easiest thing is to let it will take maximum 2 weeks if it's so bad, and we can move on with our lives. And that is what empowers them. So sometimes the scapegoats, like this little fry, is what we use as scapegoats, as an example. And but the bloggers understand that many, especially Nigerians, we have that culture. We don't really want to stress ourselves to do this. But I just also feel that maybe even if a Nigerian can just go and make a report, that we have a system that can take it up, you know, and we will see more of that. I've seen abroad, especially in America, like blogs, big blogs that people follow, who have made this sort of terrible mistake. There was one recently who had said something about Cardi B. This is a blog that everybody goes to and listens to. But she was dragged through the courts. It took them a while, but this person decided, Cardi B decided, I want to make an example of her. And she was asked to pay so much money that she could barely afford, you know, that she could hardly afford. And it's good to be able to do that. It's not just for even social media trolling and fake news, but for some of the many things that even happen at work, at home. someone comes into your house as a staff, he does something, but you say, you better just let this person just go, I beg, I don't want the stress. And then the person goes and does it to someone else because nobody reported to the police or tried to get involved.
So I have a call from Oyin, is calling from Ikeja. Thanks for calling, Oyin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I want to talk about this in your life issue. It's a fantastic one. And I wish she didn't get an option of 150,000. I wish it was made to serve at 3 years up straight. Maybe that will teach people that when you're dealing with people's lives, you should be careful. It might be in your last day, and I'm happy she went for it. There are lots of blogs that people in Nigeria now live on gossip. I wish people can just go after, government can just go after some people like this government and the rest. Even if somebody is doing things, particularly with people's private lives, can they be? We now live every day. People go on social media and read about people's gory things, and they live through it. I don't understand that people on the other side, like they are trooping. Even when they are doing real life, they are not even lying. The blogs are lying. Them their private life for first sake. That girl should be allowed to sit at 3 years. She should learn a lesson. Then the other part of the husband and wife, I know you've gone over that discussion. The pastor thing. For crying out loud, before you got married, you should know the person you got married to. You shouldn't have to say, my pastor said, oh, I want to tell you and all of that people do. I remember when I get married, a guy told me he saw it, he dreamt, or God told him. I mean, I've always, even when I was young, I was very opinionated. I told him point blank, without even, I said, Uncle, if God wants to talk, I didn't even have to quote the Bible. God will tell me by mistake. God will tell somebody else. God will have to. If I God know my mistake, Uncle, don't bring it. You're not even close to it. And I don't care about what the future is. At that point, I was talking. I'm not going to enter my brain and be thinking my brain anyhow. That was it for me. There was no, and I'm actually where I am today. I'm not thinking about it.
Thank you very much, Oyin.
Please, I want to say something about the bullying story and the lie. So she posted the video, the content, and the video got 3 million views.
That's it.
Of course, it was a good offer. Yeah, it was a good offer. It was she made money at the moment, and there are many blogs that take stories like that in exchange for money. They will do the content and post it, and some overlook it. There was a post by Babyface recently. I think it was this week or over the weekend about interviewing Stella Damasos, and he had to turn off comments on the video. People didn't watch the entire video, and they were insulting her all through the comments. People had made their opinion, and he just saw the brief video and were now judged what she said. So he posted another one where he gave more detail about how she feels, how she deals with the stories, and she was like, she went on social media, she found out that she was now divorced. Later, she found out she was husband snatcher. Later, like, she has seen all sorts, and sometimes she would just cry. And then somebody would now come and tell her that, why you, like, we know you. We know it's not true. But, like, millions of people believe it is true. She's never chosen to do a lawsuit. But imagine the trauma that you are putting people through, putting children through, putting the person through, the reputation going forward. People might not get, you might not get acting roles. People might not, they'll say, what we've heard about this person. I beg, I don't want this kind of person on my set. So the things that we are doing and putting online is having huge impact on people's lives. My pastor did something many years back, and they felt it was unusual for a pastor to do that. People duplicate, they fake his books and CDs and messages and sell it. And he caught someone and took them to court. And he came to church and he said, I took the fake publishers to court because they've been doing this for too long, and we cannot just keep saying, be your brother's keeper, be praying about it. There's a legal structure. Let them go to court and face it.
Let me take Larry from Abuja. Thanks for calling, Larry.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I think it's a good development in the right direction, because these days a lot of people hide away from going to court when they are being bullied. And I think we should start brightening our minds to take other people to court when they abuse our rights. Kudos to Eniola for doing this. This is a good legacy, because some people think they can just do anything online and go away with it. It's not fair. Even this thing is rampant among the so-called actors and actresses bringing themselves out and trying to do some things that they are tarnish the image of their family, even tarnish the image of their profession. If you can start it on this note.
Thank you, Larry, for your comments. There was a TikToker who also was arrested by the police for using an underage kid for something. I can't remember that.
Yeah.
He made the underage kid do something. I can't remember what it was. He's been arrested right now.
Yes,
it was a prank.
But
It was a prank, but you see, so that's part of the irresponsibility that we do, that we show. In trending, and that's the pressure to trend. You get fake stories, the pressure to trend. You don't realize that you're using an underage child, or even you realize you don't care. You know, you don't want it to just want it to trend. So So we need to really regulate. We need to regulate this somewhat. You know, in the early days when we were talking about regulating, everybody carried placard. How they want to gag us. But now we are seeing that there's a need for it. So maybe now we are ripe enough for a proper regulation.
No, but there's
social
something
media.
Nima said that time, that we didn't need to do social media regulation because we had laws that were already in place to sue you for defamation, libel. We can use those even in the case of social media. That's what they've done now. This is not based on any social media rule. This is just saying that you put out a comment about me that is false.
Even the conversation, they dare not have that conversation at the time. Remember, if you say anything about regulating social media, it will be... I have a point I wanted to make.
Please.
Now, after we have talked about the bloggers, let's talk about the consumers of this story. All of us.
We love the
I have seen people who would go and attack one person for something. How dare you, how dare you, how dare you, how dare you? Call, and then, you know, there's some people get so personal and call your ancestors will be this and that and that and that, insult you and everything. They go to another story, the same scenario, but it's a different person. And that same person is, oh, hailing you, yes. I'm like, who are these people? Are you normal? Are you okay? Are you thinking it through? Or you find someone, the video you just talked about, that we're talking about, 3 million views. Who are these people? What are you enjoying watching someone say lies and negative stories about somebody? You, like everyone else, you have played a part. The reason why stories like that trend is because you are consuming it and enjoying it. And then now that she has been called out, everybody is now a common sense person. Yes, I'm happy that but you were there hailing her. Hello? What's happening here? So we need to be careful. See, social media,
the people.
I never fall for the praise or for the criticism. Keep it as far world away from me.
I have a caller that comes to you, Damola. Good morning, are you there? Okoye, thanks for calling.
Okay. So let me call.
Good morning, you're live.
Somebody just said the same thing about my daughter in the school. And my daughter expected it. I never wanted it, but immediately I saw this case, I was penalized. I had to call, so that I'll call her to even come and sue the case for him or her. She has suspended her image to the university.
Okay, somebody did it to his daughter.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
So thank you, that's just my own.
Okay, Mr. Okoye, it's not very clear. I'm not really sure what he said.
No, I think he mentioned like somebody did it to his daughter or something.
Okay, want to say something, Damola?
Yes, I was going to respond to what Miriam said about some people hailing when this news go viral, and there are other people that would...
Be jumping from blog to blog.
Yeah, it's important to note that social media opinion is quite divided. There are some people, there's still some people, while there are a lot of people that do not use their common sense to judge matters, there are still a lot of people who actually apply their brains to say that, let us look at this matter holistically, I'll be sure we are not being biased and all of that. But my point now is about the people who actually love to cyberbully. I think it's just about the whole concept of misery loves company.
Yep.
They are miserable. They don't have anything to do with their lives. And then when they see a story break about a certain celebrity that seemed successful, and then say, oh, so it's a man that has been financing you. This, da. If it's easy, you say, go do it. Let a man finance you and see if you would be that successful.
Let's take a final caller on this. Kelechi from Shasha, then we'll wrap up on this. Good morning, Kelechi.
Good morning, Uncle. Good morning.
Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Very clearly. Go ahead, please.
Okay, please, I want to commend them
government for her opinion. She has said something very, very important for us. The issue of spiritual manipulation. You see, it has killed our families too much. You see, and it will continue as long as religion continues to exist in our lives. It will continue. So that's aside. Number two, I want to ask, what happened to that cyberbullying of DC? We didn't hear the last of it. What happened to it? And number three, please, Moran, I want to suggest something to you. Please, is it not possible for we religious believers to investigate who we call God? Is it the wrong thing? Take it as a hot topic. I will be happy to hear the views of your lady. Very, very important.
Thank you very much, Kelechi. I'll go on a break. When we come back, we'll discuss this issue of spiritual manipulation. Is it God speaking or is it spiritual manipulation? And can we tell the difference when God is actually speaking versus when we are being manipulated? Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, actually got so many messages on the show. People asking us to go back to the issue of spiritual manipulation because people felt that it was an important topic to talk about. And Tokwe had guided us earlier, helping us understand that it has actually destroyed many homes. And it's, but Christians will tell you that there are times where God actually speaks. But sometimes, some people, and I don't want us to use pastors again, because it's almost as we are bashing pastors, religious leaders might be a better word to use, a better phrase to use. Religious leaders somehow manipulate people sometimes to do certain things, and they make it look as if they heard from God. I have a message here from Caroline Ibiwoye. She said that the truth is both Christians and Muslims are practicing African religion by consulting with clerics and clergy. For our ancestors were used to consulting with Ifa, Shango, and the likes. Such practice was brought into Christianity, and that's why Christianity and Islam, and that's why we do that. So we feel that until we consult, it's part of our Africanness, our African religion. You know how your forefathers, you have to consult with Ifa. So with that same mentality, we've brought it with Africanized religion, such that we must consult. But if you want to argue against that, you say the Bible also encourages you to call the elders when there are issues, when there are problems. You call the elders, you call people to, you go to the man of God for guidance. That's what they are there for. They've been given a gift to guide and direct. So where do we therefore draw the line between where you actually have guidance from your imam or from your religious leader versus when you're being manipulated? Because we do see there is manipulation, whether we like to believe it or not. In many instances, there are. But in many instances, it's actually God speaking through these men of God.
I met a single man that said that the day he hears a lady that he's dating say, my pastor closes the relationship. Because he feels that he does not want to enter the same place where his mom still is, according to him. His mom spent all her life going from pastor to pastor, mountain to mountain, and all her savings is always being used to sow seed from one project to another. And so he doesn't want to marry anyone overly spiritual, according to him. Just know God. I mean, overly religious, that be spiritual, don't be in that pastor thing. I didn't really understand it until recently. A friend went through his staff's phone and found out some things and how it is subtle, how some religious leaders in a subtle way build dependency on them as the vehicle to God, so that when you make mistakes, they will come across like, you should have come to meet me before you bought that land. It's a subtle way. What does that mean? Does that mean that every time, if I want to do anything, I must come and meet you? If I don't come and meet you, it will not work out well. Those are spiritual manipulation. And they are coming in different ways. We must train ourselves to be able to understand where somebody is quoting the Bible or trying to manipulate us into being dependent on them.
It's a difficult conversation to have because I am from the, we were all Christians and we're all at different levels. And I always believe that, you know, it's always important to have spiritual guidance in certain things. Although me personally, I might not go and greet my pastor. I don't know my pastor, I've never entered his house. I have one that I go to see him. But there is, I don't think we should look at it as we're being manipulated. Maybe it is us looking at it as manipulation. It could be guidance, but you must also understand that even if you get a guidance from a man, you must align it with what you've read in the Word. And it must be such that even you make your own independent decision. So you're not making a decision on something because this man of God said, but you're making a decision based on your understanding. However, he has helped you to see options. The same way counselors, they'll say, we will not tell you what to do, but we'll show you the various options available. You pick. So whatever decision you make, you therefore trust that God will direct your steps. But should we therefore now say that I'm manipulating because I want you to come back? Where I will agree on manipulation, because I have seen one which I've shared here on phone, where I met a man of God who I know personally. This man, I don't know him, we're no more friends anymore. But there was a time me and this person were friends where he was so excited. I'm sure he's watching. He's not going to kill me. He was excited because there was a state that he's from. He was excited that he knows the commissioner. Hey, that he knows somebody that just...
money.
This person just became a commissioner. I don't enter that. I'm going to call him tomorrow and I'll tell him he must not enter that office because I must go and pray, you know? So for him, he was already thinking of the possibilities of how I can milk this commissioner because I'm going to tell him to pray on that seat. After we pray, we must sanctify the entire office because of all the demons that I've covered, you know? So he felt it was this is money-making time for him. He was really excited. When I saw it, I'm like, oh my Lord. So that happens.
Yeah, that happens.
But we shouldn't mix it up with the real ones.
But if I'm to talk about my own personal Christian spiritual journey, I can't relate to people who insist on talking to a daddy, insist on talking to an overseer, insist on getting a pastor's opinion on everything that they do. Personally, that's not the sort of Christianity that I practice. That's not the kind of Christianity that I was raised on, you know. So I've always been told that your Christianity is about your personal relationship with God. Like, who else apart from God and Jesus Christ that can hear you, who understands you more than he? They said you know, and then I also know that this God has his thoughts towards me of good and not of evil. And I don't trust human beings, you know, to that extent. So I just I don't see it as Christian. Personally, when people do that, I don't see it as Christianity. I just see it as someone said to you, taking a traditional method of doing religion and bringing it into Christianity. So if I don't have that, so if I were to meet someone or get married to someone, or even before I get married to someone who shows that sort of dependence on a spiritual person, it will be a red flag for me. But I have been described as not being spiritual enough because of that behavior. I've been described as not being in tune with God at that level. I've been told that because I don't have a spiritual mentor, some things are not happening for me the way it's happening for that person who has that spiritual mentor. But I've decided this is what works for me. I'm okay. But then I also find it weird that people who are in church, who have always held on to that spiritual mentorship and everything, when it now comes to maybe their homes or some other personal issues, they want to fight it. I'm like, but you have done this. This is the principle you followed all your life. Why is it on this particular issue is so close to home, you are now fighting it? So I don't get that. But for me, I've always been
come to you, Damola,
myself and my God.
Okay, let me take Mr. Kilani first. Mr. Kilani, thanks for calling.
Good morning, ma.
Good morning. Go ahead, sir.
What happens is that you should know the kind of pastor that a pastor is. You understand? Pastors are there to guide us, but we need to know the type of man he is. There is no way we don't need pastors. Very, very important. Some of us, before we get to marry, they can't step out, and they put us on so many things. So we have fake pastors, quite all right. But you need to know who your pastor is. Do you understand? That's just my own take. Thank you.
Let me come to you, Damola, because where do you therefore put when you hear testimonies, You know, when I went to this person, that's when you had babies. When God prayed to this person, there was a million baby man back then, you know, and you know, there are certain things you want, and you're like, the anointing is this place, so you know, and there's really nothing wrong in saying, okay, this place for deliverance. If you're having spiritual issues, this is the place you go to. If you're looking for prosperity, this is where you go to, because everybody has a different anointing. But you see, when you now go to a place where they said, after I went to speak to pastor and he laid his hands and this happened, that is the testimony we live for. And based on that testimony, we are able to trust that he will do ours. So if we now want to interpret that as manipulation, where do we therefore put the Christianity that we act that we serve?
Well, for me, we are not denying the fact that we have a God. Our God is supernatural, he's powerful, and there are some people who actually enjoy this grace of speaking over other people. I mean, they enjoy the grace more than other people do. But then we are also higher beings. God did not make us to... We out of all the creations that God made, we are the highest. And he has put us in charge of everything, plants, animals, and everything. So we also have that grace to pray to him, study the word, and get that message from him. I think why most people, the ones who actually think, oh, their spiritual leader is everything, is because they cannot think for themselves. They cannot make decisions by themselves. We're not saying do not seek or don't have a relationship with your spiritual father, but there should be boundaries. For example, I would like to cite this Tope Alabi story. It happened years back. I think...
Janako?
Yeah, she had a pastor that was her spiritual leader, Pastor Janako, and when they decided to leave the church, you know, there were stories, according to the man, the musician, that's Tope Alabi, was trying to woo him to bed, was trying to sleep with him. And they were saying that the story wasn't true because they just left the church because I think they were changing locations and everything. But then all of these stories were conjured against it. That is what is called spiritual manipulation. When your pastor says that for you to be able to get this contract, you have to sow this 34 million naira, this is that. You have to sow it.
That happens.
Yeah. God is not telling
happens.
you. God does not... you don't have to bribe God to get any blessing from him. Fine, you can sow. You can, you know, improve. Yeah, you can sow in church.
Let me take this call. I'll come to you, Mariam.
Not say by force.
He has been holding for a minute from Abuja. Thanks for calling EA.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Enjoy your program.
Thank you.
I've been waiting, trying. So just like what you are saying, like me now, when I get a maybe I don't know because of my background, but I'm from Morolean background. So there's a job I got, and you know, it's like you need to collect notes, go and give to whoever you want to give for you to get that job. And then there is a church I visited in Abuja, and the man of God was teaching about when you are having challenge about this first fruit of a thing. You know, I don't have the ideas then. When I get to that office, then the lowest person among them. So when I said, who gives you no? I said, no. And I remember that preaching of that man of God. He said, when you are having challenges, challenge God with your first fruit. So just like that, and I stand and say, God, when you give me this job, I will give you my first fruit every January. So, and the thing is causing trouble in my life now that when maybe January ending, if I want to bring my first fruit out, I already made provision towards that December. But I'm having issues. Even this thing, out of pressure, I refuse to give it out. So I said, am I doing the right thing or I'm doing the wrong thing? Please advise me.
I'm not the one that will put...
I didn't get the question.
He said he was going to... He came to Abuja. She didn't have any connection in Abuja. And she was trying to get a job. So she attended a church, and the pastor advised that you can, if you make a commitment to God that you will give first fruit, that it can trigger the blessing on your life. Yeah. So she went to apply for the job and told God that if God gives her that job, she was going to be giving her first fruit every January of every year to church. And she has been doing it, but it's causing problems now. How? That even though when she makes preparation for it, I think she's married, and they have more responsibilities, and she's still having to commit that first fruit every January at the end of the month to church. So she's asking us to advise her if she should continue giving first fruit or she should not.
Okay, let me try.
I know you've been there too.
I've been there. Let me try to share my own story. You see, there's sacrificial if you choose to sacrifice yourself, and that sacrifice between you and God, and you make that decision. It doesn't concern anybody.
Or the pastor.
It's nobody, between you and God. That happened. In my own Morayo Afolabi Brown's case, there was a year that I was depressed for 1 year and a half. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. I was I've shared this story on this show before, where things were difficult for us in the house to feed. Things were really hard and down for us. Finally, after managing with mommy, just some money here and there, I finally got a job. It was this man for, I think, another Good Ultimate Search, one of those major reality shows where I had to go with them for 90 days. And I was I started production on that project. My first money, they paid me 420,000 naira, bam. That very first money. I was so excited. I'm like, oh my goodness, I was broke. But guess what? I sold it. I handed it all over. After that job, after that sewing, I got a job at High TV. That's when I prayed. I got a job at High TV. From High TV, I was poached from High TV to TVC. From TVC, I started Your View. And so everybody has their story. We can all do different testimonies. So you can say you did your own and nothing happened. That's between you and God. But everybody has their own personal. So you cannot, because of your own, negate what happened to me. I had my own personal story. So we are all different.
So that
But you're not doing like every January
no, it does not
first
matter.
fruits. For her, she's saying that she's doing every...
You decide.
Let me advise.
No, if I do,
if you're already feeling burdened to give it, there's a
don't.
problem.
Yes, you don't.
Because if you want to give,
it should
yes, it's a sacrifice. You've already made up your mind. I'm giving
God loves
it.
a cheerful giver.
Yes, but when you're already feeling like conflicted, you're planning. How will I give this money now? My husband, how am I going to? Should I give it? Should I? Since you're asking for human advice, then it means that your spirit has left it. And when your spirit has left it, you cannot get the spiritual blessing that should come from it. That's my own opinion. So you might need to think about it and ask yourself again. It's like the issue of tithing. Some people don't. They say, I'm not doing that 10%. It no send. They know it's not their own. They don't believe in it. Some will say they were doing before, they stopped, they feel like the blessing stopped. Some are saying they are wondering where this result is not coming. Because we are giving with expectation that something will come. We've turned this spiritual giving into a transaction with God.
So I'm listening to Tope, right? And it's clear that there's no one way to do it. And so how do you tell one person that what you're doing is manipulation and what you are doing is spiritual soul? Since God does not use one way to do it. So why is it that someone has come here and said, every time I give my January salary, this is what happens, and I believe it, and God blesses me.
Yeah.
And another person is doing the same thing, and you called that one aside and said you are being manipulated. How do you do that? The truth is, right, when it comes to spirituality,
you can't use a carnal mind.
It is about that person. And it's not meant for all of us around that person to find it easy or to find it acceptable or to understand it. It's a personal journey with that person. Sometimes some of this calling will put you up against loved ones. We have some pastors who will tell you that when they started their journey and they were called. In fact, let me give you a story. I have an uncle who is a pastor, and I remember a letter my mom wrote him one time when he had asked for money. And this was a man that decided he's been to university and everything and decided, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to, I'm serving God with my everything. And he was working. And with churches, sometimes when you start off as junior pastor, you don't really get paid much. So things were tough for him. And my mom sent him a letter that, as far as she's concerned, she thought he was being lazy. He should get up and work and get a job. After all, Paul was working and serving God. Today, he's doing well. He has given his life to the ministry, and he's doing well today. It looked like it was not a calling. No one thought it was a calling. You that we know, how did God call you? And so that's why we cannot necessarily say to another person, what you're doing is you are being manipulated. But we will teach people or we hope that they learn, you know, from everyone else.
To be discerning.
Yes, to be discerning. And I hear, and in the Bible, I know that prayer is put on us, on individuals. It does not say that we should go to someone to learn the discernment spirit. It does not say listen to the opinions of others to learn that discerning spirit. It's that you come to him and ask that he gives you wisdom and discernment. So that's how
We have to
I
wrap up. Let me let Damola, you want to jump in here?
In fact, that was my point. Ask God for wisdom and knowledge. There's a place for spirituality, but also do not let that spiritualism get you manipulated.
Okay.
So please.
Okay.
So my final opinion is that it is spiritual manipulation when somebody is controlling what you're doing. It's not God. It's not that you're hearing from God, but somebody outside is telling you this is what God is saying. If you cannot find a way to know what God is telling you, then you know you have to enter the school of how to hear from God by myself. The only way to verify that you're not being spiritually manipulated is if you have finished that school of how I hear from God by myself, then you verify what the pastor says for you. If you have not done that, you are still a baby in the journey.
And the reason why I hear you, and both of you are right in different ways. The reason why I also hear, because I've known people who have listened to God said from different people, and they've been hooked. Now their entire life is now dependent on this person. And this person too is not like he's flawless. He has his own issues. The man who is giving you has his own marital, family issues, but he keeps coming to anchor you, to continue that dependence on him. So there are instances like that, but there are also spiritual instances, as you have described, that listen, we are in no place to tell somebody you're being manipulated, because the truth is that there are times where you are being led by your spirit and nobody would understand it. Nobody would
you
understand.
are being led, not somebody leading you. Let God lead everybody.
God can use somebody else to lead you.
But you will confirm it from God by yourself that I should follow this person.
You will just feel it that this thing is
We
right.
have to wrap up.
I feel it.
Hey, Joe, let's go for the weekend.
Yes!
I
want to go. I want to sleep.
That is all we have taken on this show this week. I hope you not get in trouble with your pastors this Sunday. Have a fabulous weekend. We'll see you Monday. Bye for now.
Bye.
My pastor will be proud of me.